How's it going, Reef Keepers? So I had a request a while back. Well, real quick, take a look at this wrasse poking its head out of the sand, getting ready for his day. So anyway, a while back I had a request from someone to walk them through my daily, or not daily, but every week maintenance routine. So this may be boring to some people, but I'm going to run through what I do for maintenance every week. So just to start, maintenance day is Saturday, and I spend probably like all of the middle part of the day on Saturday. I would say 3 to 4 hours doing maintenance to my main display system. So what I do to start is I take the lid off, and the very first thing I do before anything else is I rake all the sand. I just take a long pair of tongs and I just go through all the sand, stir up the detritus, get all of it up into the water column so that it goes down the overflow and gets caught in the filtration. I may, because of this fella here, need to rethink doing that every week. I anticipate him hiding in the sand. All the fish hide when I start raking metal tongs through the tank. I don't want to hit him. So I do have a diamond goby in here that does a really good job of cleaning up the sand. And I guess I'll probably just be relying on him more, or I'll try to really keep a close eye on where the wrasse goes and just not rake the sand in that like region of the tank wherever he hides out. So anyway, we start there. From there, I actually take this tiny little scrubber right here, and I literally put my hand in the tank, roll my sleeve up, and I scrub every bit of the rock that is like a crevice or a catch point, and I know them all by now, where detritus settles in the rock work. Any algae that I see popping up, anything like that, bam, I hit it with this. And that really gets, a nice cloud going in the tank for sure. And again, I just leave the power heads going full strength and let all of it go straight down the overflow, right? From that point, I then actually take this power head off the magnet, and I basically just go over the rock like this, just real slow, and just blast the rock with a power head. All right, I have found that to be of critical importance to keeping, I assume phosphate levels low, keep algae growth low. Just that gets everything I can't get with that scrub brush, I blast out with a power head going full strength. And by the way, like, you'd think that the corals wouldn't like it. They puff up happier than they've been all week in the afternoon after I'm done doing that. So I think that there's some benefit to just, giving the corals a good blast once a week. So they seem to like it. And then I do the one task that I hate the most, I think, of all of it, and it's because it kills my arm to reach back there and fight the coral and algae to keep it, low in the tank. But all along the back here, I take my flipper scraper with a metal blade attachment and just rake all the algae, or scrape all the algae off, and then beat down the coral and algae that grows down, behind the rock work on the back glass. And then I would say maybe once a month, I go ahead and attach a little metal scraper to my magnet, and then I hit this algae along the seams to kind of just fight it back. I mean, it grows back within like 2 weeks, so it is what it is. Anyhow, from there, I then tend to the overflow box. So the overflow box, I take, this is my main tool for the overflow box right here, this guy. Not sure what these are called. I don't know, pipe cleaners or something. But this is where my kelp wasser drips in. Right here, you can see it dripping. And I clean out the tip of that tube to make sure that it the flow is not inhibited. And then I take that same scrub brush from earlier and I scrub all along the teeth of that grill right there, both on the front and then on the inside. And then I also clean out each individual tooth with that same tool. And I really rake the metal part against it to kind of, again, coral and algae in my tank, it just builds up in the overflow grill, and I want to get that stuff clear. So From there, I actually have a clean version of one of these that is not like, you know, in the tank every week, that I keep up here. And I pull it out and I go up top, and on the fans on my XR15s, I just rotate it around and get the dust off of those to keep them in pristine operating condition. And that's pretty much the tank, like, you know, the display of the tank, right? Then I start in on my lower portion here. So, lower portion of the tank, of course, I clean out my skimmer, and I do something every week to my skimmer, which is I pop that tube off, and I take a little scraper and I go down into that that little inlet, and I scrape out whatever buildup has happened in there. It seems like calcification occurs from the incoming air, and that calcification, if it builds up enough, it starts to negatively impact skimmer performance. So it takes 2 seconds. Yeah, it's annoying to pick my skimmer up, and you know, it's an awkward task, but I do it every week and keep up on it, and that way I only have to clean my skimmer out, you know, take it all apart and clean it a couple times a year. Then also back, you can't really see it, but back here, this right there is my what is it, Tunes osmolator. I take a scrub brush and clean the optical sensor of that, because a couple times it has gotten gunked up enough that it stops putting water back in the tank, and that's a nightmare, because like you don't know that's happening until all of a sudden your water levels are like really low and your salinity is spiked. And salinity spikes or salinity drops are like my nightmare, so I don't mess with that. This right here, my phosphate reactor, which I'm only running part of the time now, it's not on right now. It was stripping the tank of phosphate. It was working so well with just that little bit of media, so I'm giving it, you know, I'm running it 50% of the time. I think it's once a month that I actually clean that out and put new media in it right now. Once a month seems to be plenty for it, so, you know, I let that do its thing. I kind of scrape off the little CJ pump that's feeding my UV. I just take that same scrub brush and make sure it's clear. Like you can see, a lot of what I do is like obsessive minor tasks that I do every week. I even have a checklist that I check off every week on my phone to make sure that everything continues running, that there's not like, you know, buildup occurring, that there, you know, just stuff like that. Like that's my nightmare, is that something's going wrong and I don't know that it's going wrong, right? And then last, my Rocky Mountain fish filter cartridges, I take those out. I take a scrub brush to them and really scrub them down good, just the once a week on Saturday. I rinse them out a couple times a week throughout the week, which is a 2-minute job. But I actually scrub them with a scrub brush every Saturday and then reinstall them. And that's pretty much, unless I want to scrape this front pane of glass because I like to see into the sump, that's pretty much it for the sump. Like every once a month, I also, I guess, test my, you see that there's 2 lines that go up, 2 return lines. This is the main one. This is the emergency one. Once a month, I test the emergency pump too, for whatever that's worth. And then, of course, whenever your Trident or whatever your auto tester is runs out of reagents, you have to tend to that. But luckily, that's, that lasts a while. So I don't really have to worry about that too much. Yeah, that is pretty much it for underneath. Then, in my water cabinet here, water/dosing cabinet, there's no good one-word term for this. I have lines that run out through a hole I drilled in the wall to my hose spigot outside. I go turn that hose spigot on. I let RODI water fill in here. I just use these Neptune solenoids to flip it on and off. So there's a 10-gallon bucket or a 10-gallon brute, and I fill it up to the brim on Saturday and then put my salt in and let it mix up. There's a power head in there. I know it's dirty, but whatever. I've not seen any negative effects of it being dirty. So, and by the way, most of that dirtiness is from Fritz Blue Box salt that I used to use until they raised the price. And now I use Aquaforest Reef salt, just the standard stuff. and it seems to be a lot clearer. But anyhow, I move down here. I fill up alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, all for Reef and Acro Power. Make sure all those are topped up on Saturday every week. Then I empty my Neptune spent reagent jar here, or beaker, whatever it's called, container. And then, actually, probably don't need to do this, but I'm obsessive. So once a week on Saturday, I completely clean out my my DIY calc reactor. So I take everything offline, you know, take the lid off with all the lines and everything, and just kind of hang it over the edge of this brute. And then I take this thing out, I pour out, you know, whatever calc is left over in the bottom, rinse it all out really good with RDI water, and then fill it back up with the RDI, put in new calc, you know, get it all stirring, make sure everything is going good with that, because that's the foundation of all my dosing. And I want it to be as predictable as possible. So I make sure that every week, you know, I tend to that. And that is really pretty much it. As far as like long-term maintenance goes, I have this app called Aquarimate, and that's where I put in all of my, you know, calendar for doing things. And I have like, it's way more than probably anybody should do, like health-wise. I mean, it's like it's unhealthy is how organized I am with that app. But I do, like, I know how long my food lasts in my food containers, so I have like reminders to check those. Every 3 months, I deep clean all my wave makers with citric acid. You know, I clean my return pumps once a year. You know, just all kinds of stuff. I have, you know, the replacement of the UV bulb that happens once a year on there. The replacement of exhausted RODI, you know, resin and, you know, carbon blocks and all that good stuff. Like, everything's in there. But as far as my like normal maintenance, everything that I covered here, that's what I do to keep this tank looking pristine on a week-to-week basis. And on Saturday, I also always test nitrate and phosphate. I test nitrate once a week. It's always like 1. It hovers like around 1 in this tank. I cannot get nitrate higher, and no matter what I do. And phosphate's my problem. Weirdly, nitrate's low. Phosphates tend to be on the high side. They generally don't go over 0.15, but that phosphate reactor in there does a really good job. I use Nios Phosi-X in that, and right now it's hovering down around 0.03, and it was coming down so quickly after my last refresh of that media that I was like, oh shoot, you know, I better lay off this thing. So now it's going 50% of the time. But I test phosphate like 3 times a week, I would say. I test it like Tuesday, Thursday, and then again on Saturday. So I keep a real close eye on phosphate. It's an easy HANA test anyway. But yeah. All right, guys, figured I would just walk you through it. And to the subscriber, I can't remember who it was, who asked me to kind of just walk through everything that I did on this tank. Hopefully it was of value to you. So anyhow, have a good one, guys. Thanks.